Welcome to day 5 of Raw Dogging Reality. I am coming to you live from my mom's house, the house I grew up in. I want to say that today's thing is going to be about spiritual materialism, spiritual haves and have nots that I see in the world of kind of like spirituality around addiction. So, my my sponsor Hal, he likes to say that AA, SLAA, whatever, those are the programs I'm mainly in. They're like the Costco of spirituality. They're spirituality on a wholesale basis. So it's kind of like anyone needs to go to Costco, you know. Most people, unless you're filthy rich, and even then, you should probably take your ass to Costco. Um, it's very much like for everyone. And so it can be very humbling to walk into a meeting and see people who maybe seem like losers and be like, I'm another loser. I'm another bozo on the bus. And I'm going to speak to those programs, but I'm also going to say that, like, if you're struggling with an addiction, it doesn't matter that you go to 12 step programs necessarily, although they're very accessible. It only matters that you have Sangha or community, that you just don't try and do it alone. So if you're currently struggling with some, not even addiction, just resistance as well, resistance, de energizing, addiction, compulsion, obsession, self can't get out of self. See if you could find a group. If you need to find a group of Sufi mystics, I recently joined. I don't go very much, but they're cool. You could find your healing and recovery through anything: Zen, Buddhism, Jewish mysticism, or it doesn't have to be mystical. You could just go to frickin' anything. Go to your local church and do some service. The point is to get out of yourself, because self can't get out of self. That's a very important concept. How to free yourself from addiction, compulsion, resistance. Get out of yourself, start to be of service. And I did not make that up. That is tried and true method. And there's more nuance, I think, along the way, like this kind of emotional surgery you can do to get over some of your resentments and fears that we talk about in 12 step programs. But the point is, get a community and stop trying to figure it out and white knuckle it on your own. So, back to the Costco of spirituality, there's kind of two parts of my personal spirituality. There's all the seeking I've done to question my mind and feel my feelings unconditionally. So there's the Byron Katie, existential kink, Matt Kahn, non-duality routes that I've gone on, and then there's the part of me that's just another bozo on the bus that goes to 12-step meetings. And I love that I have both of them, but I would say the threat to my spiritual superiority self, like uh, the part of me that thinks that there's spiritual haves and have-nots, is the part of me that would walk around in white robes. I'd say that would be a much shittier part to win. Like if that was all I had in my spirituality, because I see that a lot, spiritual materialism. So, for example, there's people who go to AA or something, they get their taste of spirituality and service and get out of themselves, and then they get like too sophisticated for it. And then they start doing ayahuasca all the time. And frankly, all the people who I see do that, or not, maybe not all, but many, they just seem like they're suffering because they go back into the bondage of self. And it's a little bit sad. It's like ayahuasca is cool. I like ayahuasca. Or plant medicine is cool, but it's just like when it becomes a replacement for just hanging out like in a kind of Quaker way with a bunch of people and just talking about your struggle. All I can say about it is it don't impress me much. If your ayahuasca community is a community, that might be the community that gets you out of it. But a lot of times it's just a lot of people trying to be so sophisticated about getting out of self that they actually become addicted to plant medicine, and that's not that cool. I'm saying something controversial because I know a lot of my friends are into that, but I'm just speaking my truth here. It's like humbling yourself, being grounded and on earth, and dealing with real human problems, and not just trying to blast off out of this flesh suit into like the higher realms. You know, like that's really important to me. Like I want to be a primal monkey, being the best possible primal monkey on earth. You know, it's not about blasting off. And I do think there's a place for what Michael Pollan calls like the lantern consciousness that you get from those medicines. It's just like, in what context are you using them? And in what context are you using your spirituality? Are you using your spirituality to be better than, worse than, or really better than? And then probably the flip side of that is you actually feel worse than because you had an inadequacy identity that got you to the spirituality to begin with. So I'm just going to say, be a bozo on the bus. Don't be too cool for the Costco's of spirituality, and you're going to have a much better time. It doesn't have to do with being good or doing what I said. It has to do with pleasure. Like, I feel the pleasure of relaxing, knowing I don't have to figure everything out. Just being in the middle of the pack, the protective wall of human community, I think Jung said in his article to Bill Wilson, or Bill said to Jung. So I guess if there was advice, and I don't want to give too much advice, I want to keep it on my experience, it's in order to overcome resistance and addiction and compulsion, you can't do it alone. Self can't get out of self. And no matter how spiritually sophisticated you think you are, your ass ain't going to figure it out. So get your ass to Costco, Quaker meeting, AA meeting, Sufi mystic meeting, and be with other people. Be in the pack. And if you're super busy with your kids or whatever, there's still fucking Zoom meetings. And to all the people who are in the middle of their really sophisticated spirituality that is above all this other low level shit I'm talking about, I hope I trigger the shit out of you right now, because you're not above it. And I wasn't above it when I've been in that place. Oh shit, it says Tatiana in the corner. Let me change that. Actually, I'm going to end this video, but I hope that my enthusiasm for being grounded and the pleasure of that is coming across. Or maybe I just sound de-energized. But calm beats blasting off any day of the week for me. So I invite you to think along the same lines. If you want to be like me. If you don't, go do some plant medicine. Bye. Oh, also subscribe to this video. And that's it.